this is a solution. Solar input, the heat coming from the sun, is after all the biggest. It's the elephant in the room or whatever it is. It is by far the biggest player in this whole thing, and we can vary it. So this is the glitter belt solution. And I don't think that cricket ball type Earth that you see there, you will not see these things so big from anywhere. In fact, you may not even be able to see anything from space with the solution that I am going to propose. Nothing new will be seen there at all. No disturbance. So I think this is going to be monitored, controlled, removable, restorable, with integrated data acquisition capabilities that are unprecedented in scope and worldwide distribution and time resolution, temporal resolution, and spatial resolution. Our aim is to cut heat retention rate by half by about 2035, which I think you need the preparations initially, and then really scale up to zero out heat retention by 2040, and then if you want to reverse it all the way back as far as you want until you start feeling cold. We can do that. We can stop anytime. We will do specific interventions once we are reasonably sure of the data and the climate predictions and things like that. And examples are protecting the sea ice around Antarctica and then the Arctic Ocean and places like that, and maybe get to the Himalayan glaciers and all these things. Our technique is to put very thin, ultra thin reflective sheets of aluminized mylar is one way to do it, or solar sail material, way up there. Not in space, but at about 30 kilometers above the ground, at an altitude where, as you see, the sky looks totally black. And you had to look downwards to see the edge of the blue scattering atmosphere. So you can see the sun quite a long time after it has set on the surface and before it rises on the surface. How do you support these sheets? So again, what's the difference? This is not in space. 30 kilometers, there's enough air to do this, but not enough air above it to have absorbed hardly any of the sunlight coming in. So you can reflect back essentially 100% of solar radiation. And these are basically mirrors which have better than 99% reflectivity. If you want to do this in space, and many people have proposed this, but it's you will need to be moving at about 330 kilometers above the Earth, remember? And you will have to be moving at about 7,500 meters per second. Now, energy required to do that is proportional to the square of speed. We need to move only at about 10 meters a second, okay, because we are still in the atmosphere. So this means that if you want to do this in space, you need 675,000 times as much energy per unit mass as what I am proposing. And to cap that, if you try to do this in space, you had to have rockets which burn fuel and dump a lot of mass into the atmosphere, and that causes its own problems. We don't use rocket fuel. We use sunlight. So some of the sunlight is absorbed by the solar cells that we have and used to run propellers to keep these things climbing during the daytime. And during the nighttime, they will glide, but not lose so much altitude that they come down even into the edge of controlled airspace. There are three ways of doing this. One is what I've shown on the left, what I call a flying leaflet. That is a basic element of my architecture. It's aerodynamic. It has a wing with propellers and it pulls the sheet along. Somebody said, oh, it's like Superman pulling a cape. Yes. The other is to spin the sheet around so that it stays stiff by centrifugal stress. And you develop these things which look like quadrotors or frisbees. And the third is to simply use hydrogen balloons to take these things up into the atmosphere. That's appropriate where you want the sheet to stay in one place. So that is aerostatic. Why go to high altitude? Why not do this on the ground? You can do it on the ground, but you need permission from people to use their land to do this, unless except what you are doing on your own property. What you are doing on the ground is only 50% effective because you lose 30% of the sunlight coming in through the atmosphere. It's already absorbed. And you lose 30% of the reflected light going out of the atmosphere because that's also absorbed. So 50% is absorbed if you do this on the ground. And It only works when there are no clouds and you don't see the sun for as long per day. Whereas at 30 kilometers, you'll see the full 1.367 kilowatt per square meter, and for a very long duration every day, and 99% of that can be reflected. So the basic element, as I said, is the flying leaflet. So what does this do in round numbers? What effect does this have? Just this thing. So this is 60 meters span by 30 meters size of the sheet when it is deployed. That happens after it reaches up there. The 60-meter span is decided because I want to be able to launch this from a cricket ground or from a Maidan, hopefully no lampposts and things like that there, or from the beach or a hilltop. You don't need airports for this. This thing, this basic element will cancel out the heat that is released by a 2 megawatt power plant, because even operating at 50% efficiency or somewhere close to 50% efficiency, it cannot do anything about the carbon dioxide, but it will cancel out the heat release.